Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's WEConnect International webinar. My name is Maggie Berry. I'm the Executive Director for WEConnect International here in Europe, and I'm delighted that you joined us for today's webinar, From Surviving to Thriving, the First Steps. Our presenter today is Cath Daley. She's a highly sought after transformational leadership coach, a speaker, presenter and communication expert, and she is one of our certified women's business enterprises. And during this session, Cath is going to share with us some of the tried and tested and proven techniques that will really help you to get out of this kind of survival thinking and taking the first steps to moving yourself and your business from surviving to thriving as we move through and beyond our current situation. To keep background noise to minimum, if I can just ask everybody, the participants, all to keep themselves on mute, but please do use the chat functionality to ask any questions. Cath is going to try and keep an eye on the chat during the presentation, so she might answer some of the questions as we're going along, but there will definitely be time at the end to ask questions then. Cath's probably going to talk for about 45 minutes. And the session is being recorded so that you will be able to listen back to it again. So thank you very much for joining us today. And Cath, a big thank you to you for presenting. It's over to you. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Maggie. And hello to everybody who's listened to this live and for those who'll be listening later on. We are indeed living through extraordinary times. And the announcements this week, particularly in the UK, have, I think you'll agree, created even more confusion about what we can and we can't do. And for many, that uncertainty is adding to the sense of overwhelm. You know, we continue to be anxious about our businesses, our loved ones, our team members. Many are feeling the effects of isolation, particularly if you're by yourself. Family relationships are getting strained because we're all living on top of each other and trying to run a business, and maybe homeschooling as well. You know, juggling business and family the best we can, but sometimes it feels like we're falling short. And it can feel at the moment like you're just surviving, just trying to get through the day. So how do we deal with the stress of the current situation while finding the strength to support our families and our teams and to think about the future? How do we manage the demands of the present and navigate that uncertainty ahead without melting down or burning out? And how do we take the first steps that will take us from surviving to thriving? In this webinar today, I want to share with you what survival thinking is and how it keeps you stuck. Many of us are feeling overwhelmed at the moment, physical overwhelm, but emotional overwhelm in particular. And so I'm going to share with you a few simple strategies that can get you out of emotional overwhelm quite quickly and also prevent it happening in the future. One of the side effects of high levels of stress is a lack of focus. So again, I'm going to share a very simple 3-part process that will actually help you to get out of that sense of overwhelm and become much more focused in what you've got to do. And I'll be sharing with you a very powerful tool for you personally that you can also use with your team and you can also use and apply to your business that will actually start to move you from surviving to thriving. So to start with, what is survival thinking? Fear, frustration, change, and uncertainty that we're all experiencing at the moment are powerful triggers for many of us to slip into survival mode. We experience survival mode at 3 different levels. There's the psychological effect, the mind if you like. There's a physiological effect, the body. You have a physiological response to it. And then there's a behavioural response as well. Now, the main function in evolutionary terms of fear and anxiety is to make us aware of danger, of threat. And that triggers an emotional response to help us get away from that danger as quickly as possible. So that's where the fight, flight, freeze response comes from. I don't think many people are experiencing a flock response at the moment, but many are feeling the flight and freeze responses. There's a release of adrenaline and cortisol, and functions that are not needed for immediate survival, like our digestive system and our immune system, either switch off altogether or actually slow down. Heart rate increases, increased blood flow to the muscles, basically to get you the hell out of there. And that's fine for a short period of time, but it's not sustainable. It was never meant to be. It was meant to get us out of immediate threat. If we stay in fear for a long time and anxiety, if we stay in this heightened adrenalized state, it leads to overwhelm, physical overwhelm and mental overwhelm too. Our immunity is reduced at exactly the time when we don't want it to be. We experience exhaustion and fatigue. Some of you may recognize some of these. We can get headaches when we don't normally get them. Sleep patterns are disrupted. We're not getting as much sleep. And actually, we can't think clearly. What happens is that blood supply is withdrawn from the upper higher thinking part, the frontal cortex of the brain, down to the reptilian part of the brain, which is the part that gets you out of the stress or out of the danger. So when we're in that adrenalized state, we cannot think clearly. A lot of you might be feeling that sensation of muddy thinking, oh my God, I can't think straight. And there's a physiological reason for that. So our decision making is actually quite poor at this time. And at a time when we're being expected to step up to a higher level of leadership in our families, in our teams, in our businesses, physiologically, we're actually in the wrong state to do that. If this goes unchecked, it can actually lead long-term to serious health problems, things like heart disease, adrenal fatigue, and mental things like depression, and in extreme cases to PTSD. So survival thinking keeps you stuck because you're in that emotional state of fight, flight, freeze, and we can't think clearly. The definition of to thrive comes from the Old Norse word meaning to seize, to take hold, to prosper, to flourish. And if any of you have read Adriana Huffington's book, Thrive, she includes this in her definition. It's also about our well-being, our wisdom, our capacity to wonder and bring joy into our lives, and our capacity to give. Without these, life is really reduced to our to-do list. And I know for many of my clients at the moment, that's exactly what they feel it's like. They just have this to-do list that they've got to work through. You may disagree with me, but I believe that you can't have a thriving business or a thriving team if you yourself are not thriving. It all begins with you. So how do we get from surviving to thriving? Well, the first step is to release the fear and the anxiety and the emotions that are keeping you stuck in survival mode. I mentioned emotional hygiene on the huddle on the 14th of April. Some of you may have heard that. I'm not going to go through those techniques again. If you are interested, Maggie's going to send out a link to those slides and to the techniques that I used there. Very simply, it's about having a daily practice to get rid of the emotions that you're feeling, to accept them, that they're okay, but then there's different ways that you can help to work them through and get rid of them so that you are releasing them out of your body. When you do it on a daily basis, it becomes a daily practice. Long term, it actually prevents you getting to the state where you're in emotional overwhelm. Another long-term strategy is mindfulness. Some of you may or may not do mindfulness practices, but very simply, mindfulness is being present in the moment, but present in an enjoyable way, rather than focusing on what's gone on in the past or what's going to come in the future. It's actually being present to the moment, because in reality, that's all we really have. So it has huge benefits long term. It's been shown to improve focus, you feel happier, it can reduce pain in certain circumstances. It can actually, and I really like this one, it can actually slow down the aging process. And it also helps you to make better decisions. There are lots of mindfulness apps out there. There's loads of books about it. And you can do it in just a few minutes each day. It can be really simple to start to introduce it. A lot of people say to me, yeah, but I've not got time to do any mindfulness. Actually, can you spare a minute out of your day? Because you can do a mindfulness exercise in just a minute. And I'm going to set you the challenge to do one today. And this is a very simple one. Later on today, when you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, you can turn that into a mindfulness exercise by going into each sense for just a very short space of time and focusing on what you are experiencing. So, feeling the weight of the cup in your hand, becoming aware of the muscles in your arm that are allowing your hand to hold the cup. Look at the cup. What does it look like? Are there patterns on it that you've never noticed before? What does the handle look like? What's the colour of the liquid inside the cup? And then close your eyes and smell the drink. What can you notice about the smell of the drink? And then take a sip and actually notice what that liquid feels like in your mouth. What does it taste like? What does it feel like on your tongue? What's it feel like going down your throat? And you'll be surprised at how just doing a simple technique like that can produce a real sense of calm in the daily chaos. And you can do several little minutes during the day. And it can make a significant difference to preventing that emotional overwhelm. The third example is community and collaboration. Having the support, this is about emotional support, having the support of a community can be highly beneficial. But what I would suggest to you is to be discerning about the communities that you're part of, especially online. I'm seeing a lot of this with people in various communities on Facebook and LinkedIn. Look at that community. Does it actually drain your energy and increase your sense of overwhelm? Or does it actually energize you and support you? So I would encourage you to be really discerning so that you have communities that energize and support you. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that later. One of the symptoms of stress is an inability to focus. And that's often accompanied by a lack of motivation and a feeling of overwhelm again, especially when you've got so much on your to-do list. I was working with a client earlier this week and she had 40 things to do on her to-do list. Now that's never going to happen. And it's no wonder she was feeling so overwhelmed because she can't see a way through. Now, I shared a technique for dealing with very long to-do lists on the webinar I ran a while ago called Time and Energy Secrets for Busy Women. And I know Maggie's going to send you the link to that if you didn't see it, or if you want to look at it again. Then there is quite a long description of one of the techniques. But basically, very simply, what I did with this client is we looked at the 40 things on her list. And first of all, this was for the next day. First of all, we deleted everything that didn't have to be done the next day. We then looked at which things that had to be done the next day that she could delegate. And when she'd done all of that, she ended up with 8 things on her list. Now you can do this triage for a daily to-do list, or you can do it for a weekly to-do list. We did it for her daily to-do list. So once she got it down to 8 things that only she could do that had to be done the next day, we then triaged it. Now, in the same way that when you go to an emergency department in hospital, you are triaged as to the level of severity of your symptoms and whether or not you need to be seen to. Well, this is about triaging what's on that to-do list. So she had 8 things. We then went through it and looked at which things absolutely had to be done by her and nobody else, and absolutely had to be done the next day. And she labelled those as A. She then went through the list and labelled the ones B that it'd be nice if it got done the next day, but nobody's going to die if it doesn't get done. And then the third one is C. It could get done next week or the week after. So when we did the triage, she actually ended up with 3 things on her to-do list for the next day. Then you get to, I got her to order them in terms of importance, 1, 2, and 3. And she worked through A1, then A2, then A3. And that was it, done. You then celebrate, put your feet up, have a cup of tea, because you've achieved what you wanted to achieve. It's not about going on and doing the B's and C's just because I've got time to do them and just because I've got another 10 hours ahead of me before I go to bed, even though I've already done 8 hours at the desk. That's not what this is about. This is about keeping it manageable for you and also having a sense of achievement when you've done it. So that's the triage for focus using A, B, and C. And as I said, you can do that on a daily basis, you can do it on a weekly basis, you can do it on a monthly basis. And it's a really good one to teach your team to do as well. So we've looked at some strategies for getting you out of that survival mode of thinking. So what's the next step to getting you to thriving? The next step is getting you to okay. You cannot really get from surviving to thriving in one step. It's too big. So this is about getting you to okay. And it's about considering your needs. Now, when I first do that with many of my clients, I go, needs, my needs, I haven't got needs, what needs, what are you talking about? A need are those things we require, but without which we're grumpy, we don't feel okay, we feel unwell. And I want to distinguish between a need and a want. A want or desire is those things we like or enjoy, excuse me, but without which we're still okay. We're not experiencing any hardship. Here's the thing, meeting your needs only gets you to okay. And I'll explain it a little bit more. If you think of that blue circle in the middle as your needs, if we get our needs met, we get to okay. When we don't get our needs met, we're not okay. We're grumpy, we're out of sorts. Most of us spend a lot of our time sacrificing. So even though we may be okay, we're sacrificing our energy, we prioritize someone else's needs, in some cases everybody else's needs, above our own. And that's when we become not okay, and that's when we turn into bitchy partner, grumpy mum, victim, oh my God, why is this always happening to me? It's not fair. Or martyr, it's all right, I'll do it, I'll have to do it myself, nobody else can do it. Right, why does it always come down to me? And I know for a fact that most of us experience those at some stage, and that's because we are deplete. Our energy is deplete. We're not getting our needs met. Now, when you get your needs met, and you also get to do things that you enjoy, we get to the realm of generosity. We can start to give our energy away to others without becoming deeply ourselves. When we get a need met by a want, that's where bad habits happen. To give you an example, and this used to be me, I have personal experience of this. You get to the end of a Friday, oh my God, I need a glass of wine. I need a glass of wine. I've got to have a glass of wine. I need a glass of wine. And very often the glass of wine can turn into a bottle of wine. Your body doesn't need the wine. Nobody ever needs alcohol. It's want. What the body needs, and in my case, my body needed sleep and rest and recuperation, which I thought I was giving it with a glass of wine. But that very easily goes into a bad habit. This is the area of addiction. This is where we get emotional eating. Emotional eating is normally eating because something else is lacking. So our need for connection, for example, our need for verification or affirmation. If we don't get that, then we can turn to a pack of chocolate biscuits. And I think this distinction is really, really important. Our needs are the things that we really need, without which we don't feel okay. When we get our needs met and we get to do things that we really enjoy, like it's a choice to have a glass of wine, then we get to the level of enjoyment. And when we're in enjoyment, we've got energy left over, we can be generous with our energy, and we can be our best selves for those around us. Ongoing sacrifice is unsustainable and it leads to burnout. So it's really important to identify our personal needs and to get them met. So what are the needs to identify? Obvious ones are physiological needs, things like sleep, water, food, things our body needs to be okay, to function. Psychological needs. These may be things like time by ourselves. They may be things like, what do you need to emotionally feel okay? It may be time out in nature. It may be, as I say, time by yourself. It may be, I get really relaxed if I have a nice long soak in the bath. Relational needs. These are needs in how you connect to others. Now, at the moment, this is a big one for many people because although we can connect over social media, we cannot actually connect in person. And your needs will change depending on the situation that you're in. One of the things I've been doing with my clients recently is we've been reassessing their needs based on lockdown. So what relational needs, how do you connect with people in a way that just gets you to okay? And then spiritual needs. These are the needs that nurture my word for it is your essence. Some people call it your spirit, some people call it your soul. That part of you that feels connected to something outside of yourself. It might be a higher self, it might be God, it might be the universe, it might be Mother Nature, whatever it is for you. What is it that part of you needs in order to feel okay? And I also want to distinguish between stable needs and replenishment needs. Stable needs are things like a comfortable house, a steady income, maybe, you've got surgery planned. These are things that don't need everyday consciousness. They're like, if you've got a steady salary coming in, if you've got good cash flow, then that is not a daily need. Now, that is challenging a lot of people at the moment. It tends to get attention when it destabilizes, which is what many people are going through at the moment. Replenishment needs are those that need regular repetition. For example, if you have a physiological need for exercise and you go for a walk one day, It doesn't mean that's done and dusted and you don't need to go walk again. You will go walk for another day. So that needs to be repeated. It needs to be replenished. In the sort of circumstances we are in at the moment, that balance is skew-if for many people, for many women. The replenishment needs are the ones that are very often overlooked, but they have the greatest potential to impact on our well-being. When we pay close attention to our replenishment needs, that's when we are able to develop that resilience, and we're much more effective. Now, I've had it said to me, but isn't that selfish, getting my needs met? If you've ever been on an aeroplane with the safety announcements, they always tell you to put on your oxygen mask first before you go to help others. I want you to think of your needs, your replenishment needs, as your oxygen mask, if you like. So how do you identify your needs? This is an exercise called Needs Creed. I've got a handout with this on for you, and I'll give you the email address to get it from after the webinar using that diagram. But first of all, you list your needs in each category. So what are your physiological needs? What are your psychological needs? What are your relational needs? And what are your spiritual needs? The next thing then is to define what it looks like for each need to be met. So for example, sleep, uninterrupted sleep. Now there's no right or wrong with any of these, by the way. It's what works for you. It what gets you to okay, and it's just to okay. It's not going to set the world on fire. It's just to get you to okay. So for example, sleep. I need 7 hours. Okay. How much you need of each and how often? I need 7 hours uninterrupted sleep every night. Or maybe for you, you can get it from a power nap in the afternoon. And then you work through that for each and every one of those previous needs on your list. And then you add them to that needs creed chart that looks like this. So the outer circle is what the needs are: physiological, psychological, relational, spiritual. The next one in is how much you need every day. And then the middle circle is every week or every month. So for example, physiological, you might need 2 liters of water every day. A psychological need might be alone time, 2 hours a week. Doesn't matter how you get it, but you need in total 2 hours every week. So you can see how you can get the idea from this, and you fill in each category. Be careful though of not putting too many on. If you've got like 30 needs on there, chances are you're not going to get them met. That will just tip you over into overwhelm again because you're trying to get all your needs met. So keep it very simple and keep it to the basic ones without which you're not okay. You can share this exercise with your family. If you feel you can, when you fill this in, you can share it with your family. Some of my clients put it up on the fridge and share it with their family and say, look, this is what I need to be okay. This is what I need not to be grumpy mum or bitchy partner. Can you help me to keep me accountable to get them met? Because this is the thing, nobody else is responsible for getting your needs met, only you. You are responsible for getting your needs met. You can also share this with your family. One of my clients has got 4 teenagers at home at the moment in lockdown. And she said by doing this exercise, it's actually kept them sane. She sat them all down around the table, explained how you do it, they all did all of their needs, and they're now up in the kitchen. And so they can see what each and everybody needs. If you need some alone time, rather than somebody pestering you, they know that you need that alone time to be okay. Don't forget, needs just get you to being okay. This is a really powerful tool because you can also take it and use it with your team. You can teach your team how to do their personal needs, the way I've just shown you to do for you, but also What do they need as a team? If you have a team, is it, for example, connection? Is it affirmation? Is it clarity? Is it good communication? What is it? And until you ask, you don't know. And then how can the team work together so that the team gets what it needs? This is not about you as the leader to provide all for them. It's about them helping each other and supporting each other to get what the team needs. You can also take this and apply it to your business. What does your business need right now? Not what does it want, not what do you want for your business, but what does it need right now to be okay? Is it financial help? Is it new sales strategy or marketing strategy? Do you need to get HR support, legal information, legal support? What is it for you? So doing the needs creed works on a personal level, works on a team level, and works on your business level. And it's getting you out of that survival mode into getting okay, which is the interim step to thriving. So to summarize, we've looked at how survival thinking keeps you stuck. I shared with you some strategies for preventing you from getting into that emotional whelm that will send you back into survival mode. How you can use a very simple triage to stay focused when you've got a huge to-do list. And then the powerful tool of the needs creed that will nurture you, your team, and your business. So what is the next step for you? On last week's huddle, someone mentioned a mastermind group. I had already talked to Maggie about this a few weeks ago, about setting one up. And so this might be a next step for you, the Thrive Mastermind group. What is it? It can be really lonely as a business owner. I know. You don't want to bother your partner, your family, your friends with your problems and concerns because you know they get fed up hearing about them. Sometimes you feel that you can't share them with your team if you've got a team because they're looking to you for leadership. And so we tend to battle on our own. And that can be really, really tough. And it can lead you to overwhelm again. When I was working with my coach many years ago, she said, I'm not still working with the same one, by the way. She said something to me that really stuck with me and has actually made a big difference to me over the years since. And she said, always surround yourself with like-minded people who will inspire you, who will believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself, and who will encourage and support you to achieve your goals. The Thrive Mastermind group is a group of 6 to 8 maximum like-minded women coming together in a collaborative way to inspire and support each other's personal and business growth in a way that cannot be accomplished alone. When I've done this before, I've run a year-long program where we meet together for a weekend to really get focused in person in your business 4 times a year with sessions in between. Now, who knows when it's going to be possible to do anything like that again? But I wanted to offer the opportunity to experience the power of a mastermind right now. So I've come up with an online version, and for those of you who've maybe been part of one before, this is slightly different because it's a coached mastermind group. So how does it work? It's 2 times 2 hour mastermind calls for the whole group one every fortnight, in other words, for 6 months. It's providing a safe space for you to recharge, to get rid of stuff. You can rant, you can cry if you need to, you can bring your concerns and your challenges, and it's 100% confidential and non-judgmental. So whatever comes up on the calls stays on the calls. You will get focused one-to-one laser coaching from me on whatever issues that you bring. And then depending on what comes up for the group, I'll share really powerful resources, tools to support you that have been designed specifically to support you in the sort of situation that we're going through right now. So, for example, strategies for making good decisions, how to set unbreakable boundaries, how to find the 5 sources of power within yourself to navigate any issue that life throws at you, how you can plan for the future effectively when it's so uncertain, how to support others in uncertain times, and there's lots more. There's over 90 tools that I use with my clients, and I'll be picking and choosing from those which will best support the group. We'll also be using a technique called Cooperative Creativity, and if you've never encountered this before, most people when they encounter this for the first time get blown away by it. It's about using the collective wisdom and experience of the group to find solutions to your challenges, from which you then create your action plan that you're going to do, that you're going to carry out before the next call. And then you get support and accountability from me and from everybody else in our group. There's a private WhatsApp so that you can check in with each other if you want to and keep each other accountable. And there'll be a private LinkedIn group for us to share resources that you come across, links, articles, anything, any additional resources that are going to help the people in the group with their challenges. Now, for the 12-month program, people have paid me £10,000, but that's not what this is all about. I've thought long and hard about how I can make this affordable in the present climate, and so I've set the price point at £250 plus VAT per month. I believe that collaboration and support have never been more vital. And if you are looking for encouragement, for support, for people believing in you, and for different ideas and ones that you have yourself, then this is for you. If this is what you're looking for, if it resonates to you in any way, if it feels like it might be a good next step for you, then book a call with me. We'll have a chat about what you want to get from it, and what you want to bring to it, because the Mastermind group is just about as much about what you bring as what you get. And then we'll have a chat around answering questions that you got and see if it's a good fit for you. I am aiming to run the first session on the 11th of June. So the calls need to be completed by the 5th of June. Depending on the uptake, I may run more than one group. There will be a maximum of 8 in each group. The reason being, if you have more than that, it tends to split into smaller groups, which defeats the object of the Mastermind. So if this is something that you really want to be involved in, then just go to that link and book a call with me. If you want to get a copy of the Needs Creed notes and the templates, then just email me at info@cathdaley.com, put in the subject line Needs Creed so that I know what it's about, and I'll send you those resources. So let's open it up now for any questions. I'll put my video back on if I can.
Cath, thank you so much. That was great. I'm going to do the same and put my video back on as well. We come to the
I've had my video down, ladies, because I've had problems with my internet this morning, so I didn't want it going down.
When you see some of the questions, there was a few comments about there was just maybe a bit of static as you were talking, but I think it was
right, okay,
audible the majority of the way through. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
We've had a couple of questions come in, so please, if you've got any more questions, please do put them into the chat box. We would like to see them. And one of the questions that came up was when you had the circle in the different areas, and Ulrika was saying, she said, I'm not religious, or I'm atheist, but what could be my spiritual needs? And there was a few comments from the group. See people things like the nature and outdoors and meditation, beauty, but I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that. If you're not necessarily a religious, so what kind of things?
It's very individual. It's very individualistic. It can just be a higher version of yourself. It can be that connection to Mother Nature. It can be feeling of a connection to the common consciousness. It's whatever connects you to that core at the center of you, that essence. What do you need? And it's different for every people, so there's no, for everybody else, it's no right or wrong answer. I'm just trying to think of one of my clients recently just said, it's just literally being out in nature. So when I walk through the woods, I somehow just feel connected. I don't know what I'm connected to, she said, but it just seems to fill me up a bit. So if that's something that you want to explore, you can explore that through journaling. You know, one of the techniques I mentioned about emotional hygiene, I use journaling a lot for all sorts of different things. If it's something like that, just journal around it. Just write, oh, where's that coming from? What would it be? Yeah. And just see what happens.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I hope that's kind of giving you some ideas around that. And then Jay had put a comment on for everybody saying, you know, when you're having a good day and everything's all right, and then there's others who are not, and whether it's, you know, healthy to if I just kind of read what she said, you can see in the chat saying, you know, it feels so guilty as there are others who are, you know, lost loved ones or dying or battling out there in the front lines, all our key workers. So is it a healthy feeling to have, and what's the best way to deal with that? And I guess that's really about people who are, you know, not connected to you personally or individually, but out there in the wider world.
Yeah, there's a lot of guilt around right now, and there's a lot of grief. And I mentioned this before, isn't it? Anticipation grief about, oh, well, what might happen, and we don't know. The thing about feeling guilty is it's not a resourceful emotion. It serves no purpose. We know where it comes from, but when we have no control over something, we tend to feel guilty for things that are out of our control. There's a difference between guilt and empathy. And we can feel empathy about what's going on for other people and help to support them in any way we can. And sometimes we can't. That doesn't mean we're a bad person. Your feeling bad does not help them, does not serve them. And it's not about like, oh, well, I'm fine and I'm great and sod you. It's not that. It's being grateful and expressing gratitude for what you have. Because another really good activity to do and to practice is a practice of gratitude. I didn't mention that today. It's a practice of gratitude. It's being grateful for what we have. Because in that energy, you then have energy to help support others and just be there for them in whatever way they need. But you depleting your energy doesn't help or doesn't serve you, and it doesn't serve anybody else either, because you're not in a resourceful state to help them. So if you are feeling guilt, again, I would if I was working with a one-to-one, it would be, okay, where's this guilt coming from? What's causing this feeling of guilt? Where's it coming from? Because it will all have a source, if that makes sense. I mean, I used to have like a degree in guilt. I was brought up an Irish Catholic, so I used to have a degree in guilt. I used to feel guilty for all sorts of things that have nothing to do with me. Right? It's not a resourceful state to be in. It's not a useful emotion. But it's to recognize it comes up and then look at where it's coming from. And then, as I talked about with emotional hygiene, if necessary, get it out of your body.
Yeah. So
I hope that's helpful.
Well, and we'll share, as you said, we're the the piece that you presented about emotional hygiene on the WeBe2BB huddle last month, we will share the
that will help with that. That will help with that
for this group. And then I've had so Jay said, thank you, great answer. Do try to focus more on helping any way I can and being grateful and empathizing. And Jay, I absolutely know that you do all of that. And I've also had a question come through from Michelle saying, big fan of positive affirmations to kind of start the day. And so is it something that you've tried with your clients, and whether you could just give a bit more detail about the journaling? It's something I've never quite got my head around. How does it work?
Sure. I personally, positive affirmations are not a favourite of mine personally, because I don't think they work very well. Just telling yourself something all the time doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stick. Work I do goes a bit deeper to look at what stops you believing that in the first place. Journaling, I use journaling in lots of different ways personally and with my clients. Journaling can be really useful for getting rid of, and I'll talk very briefly, an emotion. If you are feeling something that you particularly don't want to be feeling, then what we tend to do is suppress it. And particularly, depending on the cultural background and your family values, one of my clients was taught as a child that she should never show anger, ever, never show anger. So when she feels angry, she feels like she's a bad person because she shouldn't be feeling anger. So she suppresses it and pushes it down, pushes it down, pushes it down. And then eventually when she does, oh my God, does she blow? Nobody wants to be anywhere near her. And then she feels really guilty about blowing. So the emotional overwhelm that we get into is because we don't deal with our emotions as they go along. And journaling and the emotional hygiene techniques are a really good way to deal with this. So journaling, for example, if you are really angry, get yourself an A4, really nice A4 notebook, and it's stream of consciousness writing in the sense that you don't stop. It's not judged. You just write, I'm angry because I'm, and you can F and you can blind and you can get whatever it is you're feeling out on the paper, get it out of your head, and then you close the book and you don't read over it. Nobody else sees it. It's about getting it out of here. If you read it, it just all goes back in again. It's a really good one for resentment and anger, but also sadness. My mum died last July, and it was these techniques that really, really helped me to deal with her death. I journaled loads and loads and loads around what I was feeling around my mum, and it really helps you to just express it. Nobody else is going to see it. It doesn't matter, because we don't tend to express it because we don't want to tell other people. We might tell a best friend a bit, but then it gets to the point, oh, I don't want to burden her with what I'm feeling, and and they'll think I'm stupid, or maybe I shouldn't be feeling this. All of that stuff comes up. But when you're journaling, nobody else is going to read it or anything. It just really allows you to say whatever it is you want to say and just get it out, and it's without you judging what comes out on the paper. In terms of positive affirmations, I think what works more effectively is a gratitude process. Is having a ritual for starting your day, starting with a gratitude process. So what is it I've got today? What am I really, really grateful for today?
Great.
Yeah. There's also another technique called thinking and thanking, which you can do at the end of the day, which is a similar sort of thing about what am I grateful for that happened in my life today. Right. The positive affirmations, some people like them. That's just my personal preference. I've never found them particularly effective for me or for my clients. I tend to do a bit deeper work. We'll look at, okay, what's the affirmation about? What's the belief that you have about yourself that means you need that affirmation? And then we look at what that belief is and changing that belief.
Great. Thank you. Michelle said, thank you. Brilliant. She said, thank you very much. I don't know if anybody else has got other questions, but if you would like to ask anything, please do use the chat functionality. Cath, I've just looked back at some of the questions that were asked in advance when people were registering. I think you've covered quite a lot of them. Some of the comments and questions like, how do you plan for the future when the future's unknown? But one that caught my eye was, how do you stop comfort eating? How do you stop comfort eating? And I know it's not directly relevant to this. I just wondered from the stuff that you've done, if there's anything, I guess that's almost kind of control around not snacking or not kind of going in the kitchen and things like that. I certainly know for me, when I'm busy working, I'm in my office and I only go down to the kitchen at lunchtime to have don't even have, you know, I have to say I don't necessarily stop and have cups of tea or anything like that. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that one. It's maybe
that
not.
Will go, and I know a lot of people are doing that. I'm seeing all these memes about people being really huge and sitting on the sofa or whatever. Again, it comes back to needs. The emotional eating will be a need that you have that's not being fulfilled right now. So what I would suggest you do is do that needs creed exercise. Look at what your real needs are, concentrate on getting them met, and you may find that the need to eat emotionally disappears.
Fair enough.
Very often people do it out of boredom.
Yes,
Okay?
definitely heard.
So if you have a need for interest, for learning, for whatever the opposite is of boredom for you, how are you going to get that need met? And then go and get it met, and then you won't be bored and you won't eat.
Yep, absolutely. So we're getting lots of comments, people saying this is really helpful, very, you know, very useful, lots of positive energy. And yes, we will share a PDF of the slides, and indeed the link that's on this about the mastermind. So if that might be something that would be interesting, and if you're one of our certified businesses and joining the huddle, we'll talk a little in a bit more detail about it tomorrow as well. And then if you would like the creed notes and the template, you can email Cath, Cath to get them, and I'll share the recording of the webinar about the busy women that we did last year, and I'll share the link for that, as well as the emotional hygiene slides that Cath shared with us before. Any final questions before we close? We're just a bit before the hour, but is there anything else that anybody would like to ask? I'm just going to double check not only the questions but the comments that were submitted in advance. And I think a lot of people were saying, and I feel this, you are, you know, for many of you, you know, you're running your businesses, you're very used to being in control and being that lead person, and kind of everything's kind of sitting with you. And then this moment, you know, the last couple of months of, you know, everybody's worlds have been turned upside down. And the reason why I spoke to Cath about doing this session was we wanted to provide something for you as the business owners that would help you individually as you kind of manage and guide your teams through this and your businesses. So I hope this has been, you know, very helpful, because I know in those first few weeks it definitely was kind of crisis, survive, what we're going to do. And now definitely, you know, business is looking at, right, what do we do next, and how do we ensure that you know, as our business leaders are all as well placed as possible, you know, to kind of come out of this on the other side and be as, whether there is another side or whatever the right terminology is to use, you know, but just how we how you all, you know, come out of this as strong as possible. So I don't think there's any more questions, but Cath, I've got lots of people saying thank you and stay safe, and yeah, lots of useful resources. And Cath, if there's anything else you think that, you know, you want to point the ladies to or anything, then definitely do share, and, you know, let us know if there's any.
I'll have a think about it. I've got loads and loads of tools that help people.
Do.
What I would say at the end though is, don't underestimate not getting your needs met. When I'm working with clients all the time, when things are going awry, the first thing I come back to, how are you doing about getting your needs met? Oh, well, I haven't got them done this week. Okay, let's start there. What stopped you? Because it only gets you to okay, and you cannot be the best version of yourself if you're less than okay.
There we go.
So, and as women, we're not great at doing that. We always sacrifice and give everybody else, and then maybe we'll think about ourselves. But actually, it comes back to the oxygen mask. Needs creed for me is the oxygen mask that you put on, so that you can then help other people and help your business and be there for your team, be there for your clients, be there for your customers. And
I, you know, knowing many of you really well, I know how, you know, how committed you all are to your teams and to your business. But I think that resonates. You know, you have to make sure that you are, that, you know, that you're surviving, thriving, and taking us on, you know, taking your business forward into the next stage of whatever our world is going to look like in the next few months and beyond. Thank you so much, as always, for your insight. This was great. Thank you. We will send a follow-up email with the slides, with the links, with the recording, and a number of the other things that we mentioned on the call. Please, everybody, have a brilliant rest of your day. Please keep safe, and if there's anything that WeConnect might be able to help you with, please don't hesitate to contact Emma, Jay, or myself. But Cath, thank you again, and yeah, this was great. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you. And I was just going to say to everybody, stay safe and stay well.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, everybody.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.